I'll continue on the topic of Hakel. It's interesting. I made this a chlotta that because I saw somewhere that it says that the reason why Kahelis is called Kahelis is because it was Dvarim Shenemr B'Hakel. And therefore some people have a minute to say Kahelis and Sukkah, some people say Dafka B'Hakel, all these words, I don't say weird, all these minhagim. So I was just thinking, like it says in the Mishnah and Saita that he read from the Torah. I'm just curious. I don't know. I'm just curious when he started giving drashas, because Kahelis is it's a big book. So one of the pashas Rashi brings the first reason from the Medrash is because Shakil Chachmas Harbi. He put together a lot of Chachmas. He put it in one book. But when exactly was there time in Hakel to speak to give 12 prakim of Kahelis? Stop. If anyone ever has an answer, it's fine. You can come in.
Several hackles.
What? Over several hackles. That's why he said it for Seif Yoma. But when did he give his first drasha? When was the time? And then it says in Seif that it has to be that hakel is Lashon HaKodesh. I always had this question, like, what's the chiddush by hakel Lashon HaKodesh? Reading from the Torah. Brachas are, well, like, everything else in the Mishnah and Seif is things that can be in English, a bracha. There's no mitzvah Krishma has to be, the Gemara discusses if it has to be kiksavin or not. But reading from the Torah, like, what are you going to think? You're going to start reading a Torah in English? Well, maybe. Yivanis, but saying okay, absolutely. So, I just have this memory from when I was young that people would come to, that when I would come to 770 and like a new liquid came out, I'm sure some of you remember this, or a new michta from the Rebbe came out, and there would be like this whole like everyone was probably, everyone was arguing and discussing everything. I have this memory. I don't know. I definitely didn't understand what they were talking about, but the memory of people having Kutasechas open and my father staying after Friday night after Ma'ariv and people were learning the liquid and discussing it. I have these vivid memories. I always enjoyed this. I always enjoyed looking at the liquid and trying to figure out why, every Maramakim and Haggadah, you see in Haggadah a lot that every Nekuda is Meduyak. So it's interesting that when you look at some of the letters and also in the Haggadah, that there were Hisafis at Lachas Man. That means that Mara Mekaymis are built up. That means if earlier on they had a limited amount, certain Mara Mekaymis, the time as it progressed, more and more Mara Mekaymis came. And it was just fascinating. It's fascinating to see it. So when it comes to Hakel, when it comes to letters of Hakel, it's also, you see something very interesting. And I'm just gonna be a little few points, and we're not gonna take over time. And it's something maybe we can in installments, as they say. So in Tafshin, in the letter from Tafshin Chavav, already from Tafshin Yud Gimel, Lifnei Zad Rebbe Kachten Hakel. But when it talks about Taf, that a Nashim V'Taf, when it talks about Taf, so the shaila is, what's the gather of Taf? What's the gather of Taf? So I'm sorry that my printer didn't work today, so I'm going to have to read out of my phone. And so the Rebbe over here brings in a letter from Tafshin Chavav. In a letter from Tafshin Chavav, the Rebbe brings as follows. So the Rebbe brings here Gar Kleina, and the Rebbe brings from the Re'ei Ramban ala Torah. Look at Ramban. So if you look at the Ramban writes that when it says Uvnei Mashaloya V'Yishmu V'Lamdu, this is talking about the Taf, that they're going to come and ask questions. And they'll be and you're going to be mechanech them, meaning that we're talking according to the Ramban starts off according to the Ramban. It's talking about anoshim ktanim shigiu lechinuch. Ki eina taf hazeh yoinke shadayim. We're not talking here about little babies who still need their mother. Abel hin katnei ashana hakroivim leitzchan. If we're talking about kids who are close to chinuch, if not chinuch, close to chinuch. Then he says, Avo Rabbi Seinu, our teacher, said in Chagiga, Ha'anashim lilmod v'ha'anashim l'shmoya v'ha'taf lam b'ayim Litin schar l'miviyayim. So it's mashma that the Ramban is saying that according to the Ramban, according to the Gemara, when it says a taf lam bo, it's not that the taf, like the nashim and anashim who have a reason to come to learn and listen, the taf don't have any real reason of listening. It's not about chinuch. It's not about teaching them anything. The reason why they're coming is for one simple reason, litin schar l'miviyayim. So it's mashma he's saying Avad, Rabbi Seinu, that according to the Rabbi Seinu, according to the Gemara, the reason is taka even Yankee Shadayim should come, because why should little kids, why should the parents not get a schar? The Rebbe over here brings a Gorarya. We're going to skip that one. Again, this is Tavshin Chavav, and then the Rebbe brings Uve Minchas Chinuch. The Rebbe brings from Minchas Chinuch. It's mitzvah Tav Reish Yud Beis. So the Rebbe Nida over there he says Nida. It seems to him he says in Minchas Chinuch, the takev sheyatzu meklal nefel, that right away when the child comes is not a nefel anymore. That means it's possible if a baby is born in the 8th month, he's considered a nefel. So, or other things, 6th month. So near the takev sheyatzu meklal nefel, right away when he's not a nefel, so he's mechuyev in this mitzvah of hakel. Says the Rebbe, Val Pizeh, based on this, Gam b'safek tzarich lahavi. Even in a suffix, you have to bring the taf. Why? Sharei ze mitzvah seim in Torah. Since we're talking about a mitzvah seim in Torah hakel, so b'meila, even if yatsa meklal suffix is yatsa meklal neifel is mechuyev. So if it's not yatsa meklal neifel, then it's a suffix. So it's a suffix of a taf. So b'meila, apizet tzarich lahavi, gam b'safek tzarich lahavi. This is the way it is in Tavshin Chavav. This changes a bit when it comes to Tavshin Lamed Aleph, but I'm going to bring from Tavshin Lamed Zayin, which also has the Shinui of the Lashon, and I'm not going to go through all the Mara Mekayimos right now just because of time. So I want to discuss a little bit over here where the Lashon changes. In Tavshin Lamed Zayin, Tavshin Mem Zayin, the Rebbe in the beginning of Mem Zayin talks about Shemitah, that year is Shemitah, and the Rebbe already talks about Hakel the next year. Interesting, Lamed Cheshvan. And the Rebbe over there brings from Tavshin Mem, from Chai, the Rebbe doesn't bring, but the Rebbe brings the Hoysafis of Chai El Tavshin Mem, and he also brings a lot more. Over here the Rebbe changes and says, okay, V'ataf, afilu ktanik tanim, he says, the Eid Ramban, v'Or Chaim. The Or Chaim actually uses the Lashon of Tanik Tanim, and then he says Minchas Chinuch. He brings the Minchas Chinuch, and now he goes near the takev sheyatzu meklal neifel. Oh, and then he brings the second part of the Minchas Chinuch. Oh, b'noiled shenkalu roiv chadashav. So meaning yatzu meklal neifel would be after 30 days. Oh, shenoiled shenoiv chadashav. Here the Rebbe doesn't write the lefi zeh. The Rebbe writes over here, and this is already also Tavshin Mem, V'tzarich iyun gadol. Here it already became into a question. Shal pizeh gam koydem sheyatzu mekal neifel v'ad tzarich laviyan. Sharei safek mitzvah seim min Torah. Over here it's not no more about pizeh. Over here the Rebbe is asking a question on the Minchas Chinuch. So what changed? What changed that in the beginning was only al pizeh, and now the Rebbe says it's a question on the Minchas Chinuch. Now, but Pashtus, one can. There's a lot. There's room to be married. Again, that's what I'm saying. It's there's room for pilpul at Talmidim to discuss the different diyukim. Maybe I'm not going to. It's not time right now to go through all the pilpul. Maybe for the Bachrin's old kachin, and like I said before, it's a vivid memory of me, people of mine, where people were kachin. So then the Rebbe goes like this. What's interesting is that all these Rishonim that the Rebbe brings, everybody, including the Minchas Chinuch, they all discuss the same thing. And I brought before the Ramban, because I think at least one Rishon, that we said, Avol the Gemara in Chagiga, that the Gemara in Chagiga says that, from there we see that, Hataf, why do we bring the Taf? So we see from there that it's any age, even the youngest age. If you want to go to the Kli Yakar that the Rebbe brings, and also here you can be medak exactly what the Rebbe wants to bring from the Kli Yakar. The Kli Yakar says it in a shaila, but from the shaila that menechet epis. Why dafke taf? If there's no point, if the taf are not coming to learn, there's no chinuch, so why dafka taf? Bring avanim also, bring avanim, bring stones. The Torah should have commanded to bring stones, and maybe bring stones, which is interesting if you really, really want to be medayik, if the Rebbe is bringing medayik, and again, this is part of it, in Halacha and Shulchan Aruch, which the Rebbe is mitzayin to, where it talks about, and also the Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, where it talks about the concept of nefel, not nefel, and Simon Shalom Lamed, over there, it's based on the Gemara, I believe. I haven't learned the Gemara in a long time, that a nefel is considered an Evan, right? That's why you can't even carry a suffix noilid, because the Harei you can, something like that's the Lashon. I don't want to say the Kliyakis is much of what's interesting. But then the Rebbe, I'm going to finish with 2 points, and what's called. Then the Rebbe says, after like a whole discussion, the Rebbe says like this, V'yesh loymar, v'ula yesh loymar. The Rebbe then adds, you appear as Rashi ala pasuk, but you'll see it inside. Then the Rebbe writes, v'ula yesh loymar, I just lost it, sorry. V'ula yesh loymar, loy kahakasalka daitach, not like the havamina. Mishum the suffix, nefel l'chumra, meaning that this was like not only a shaila, it was like a whole kasalka daitach, ki'im b'toiras vadai. It's a toiras vadai. Why? Because there's one reason by all taf. Los is schar l'miviyayim, to bring schar l'miviyayim. What was the schadish over here? Meaning the whole time everyone who's discussing where the chiddush starts, when the chiyuv starts, is discussing the same Gemara, the same Rashi. And the Rebbe Kilu is making here a chiddush, like Kim Torah's Vadai. And the truth of the matter is that we have to understand the svara of this Torah's Vadai. Meaning, clearly, we could have said that you have to bring, like the Kli Yakar asks, that you can bring anything to the Beis HaMikdash for Hakel. When you're saying taf, what's the tzir of a taf? How does the taf that we say you have to bring, how does that tzir look? So from the fact that it says that you have to bring schar l'miviyayim, that doesn't tell you what the taf looks like. The Torah says, Anoshim, Noshim, V'hataf. So when the Gemara wants to discuss why Anoshim, this is the reason. Why Noshim, this is the reason. Why Taf, this is the reason. But I first have to establish what Taf looks like. And then I tell you that the reason why you bring this Taf, however it looks like, is because Los Yitzchar L'Miviyayim. But to say that the Los Yitzchar L'Miviyayim tells you what the Taf means, Medafresh Day in Disvara. So it's meaning, and that's the whole beginning of all the Marim Kaimis. The whole beginning of Kaimis, I'm going to tell you what Taf means based on Svara. I'm not going to bring a raya from the Gemara. So we have to understand exactly what's going on over here. But when it comes, then the Rebbe writes, I happened to see last night that it was Rebbe Groner. Rebbe Groner wrote a michtav to the Rebbe. They said, Ula yesh lo haisif, from this Taisvus Yamtiv. Taisvus Yamtiv says, V'taf lama bo, v'im kein afilu hu katan k'maishu, he's a katan the way he is. That means any type of katan, yesh chal meviyayim u'meviyim meisim. The Rebbe makes a circle around the Taisvus Yamtiv, and he writes, Heirani chacham echad. That if you write Heirani chacham echad, you can put, and that's the way it goes in, Heirani chacham echad. It's interesting how medurik it was, that if it wasn't the Rebbe's Maramakim, the Rebbe wrote to write Heirani chacham echad, and that's the way it goes in. But what's interesting is, and the Rebbe's not Matzayin, is that we can have and I'll finish with this, very simple svaras of why every taf, regardless of what age, is, and that's based on the two main havanas in Hakel. The havana of the Rambam, that the inyan of Hakel was to re-experience Matan Torah. So Matan Torah, every single person was there. You couldn't have Matan Torah without a single Jew there. Okay, you could say at Taina that it was maybe technical or things, but Al Kapanim, that there's a Svarta there, and even according to the Chinuch says that the reason why we have Hakel is a bit different is because our Ummah, we want to establish how our nation is different than I think Rabbi Helen just spoke about it, how our nation is different by the Sukkah, is different different than all the other nations, that we are unique in the fact that we're a Torah nation. So, Kimuva, when we talk about these experiences of being a nation, like the fact that someone's not yet a taf doesn't mean he's not yet Jewish. It just means we don't know if he's going to be a Bar Kayama, but he only becomes a Yid when he becomes a Bar Kayama. So, it's interesting that we can have these svaras, but the Rebbe is not mitzayin to these svaras. But I'll put him 2 other svaras of why a taf of any age should be nichol.
Oh yeah, you should look in Shavuos, Normalin.
Shavuos Normalin.
You know, it said that Maseres Adibus.
Yeah.
Also from that.
Right.
When there was then it was Mama's baby girl.
And that's when it was started? It was
Koyach,
Normalin.
Yarmush.
So I think look in.
I'm going to ask Mashpia Yeshua, Ray Aronson, come speak, pick up on a theme that was addressed by Rabbi Fine, and it came to Yeshua.
So, having the Shnas Hakel, Torah to discuss an Indian which is a shtickle Hakel by Limud the Torah. This is something which Kol Echad Echad is Mechuyev. Meaning, when it comes to Kviyas Itim the Torah, everyone has their own Kviyas Itim. As Chassidic Chabad, we have certain Shirim, other groups have other Shirim, we have Shabbat Chol Nefesh, but still, the point is one thing in Limud the Torah, which is a Takanu, which every single person is Mechuyev. And that is Shnai Mecher Echad. Shnai Mecher Echad Targum is something which everyone is Mechuyev in, without exception, in the most circumstances. We'll discuss a little bit the background of it, and some inyanim of it, which might be a little bit less known. I have a lot of Makarias here, I'm not going to go through all of them. It's not to Mekatzim said this man, still have at least one more Chashuvah person to speak. So the first place we find the in of Shnai Mikra V'Echad Targum, we find by the Gemara and Berachos, and Daf Chatz. And it discusses over there that a person should always finish his Parshias im Hatzibor. Shnai Mikra V'Echad Targum, and it gives you already Chasyamim. Someone had a svara to do the entire Shnai Mikra for the whole year on Erev Yom Kippur. Possibly is why Dafka then. One of the reasons could be it's towards the end of the year and he wanted to finish the whole thing. Another reason why then Dafka not Simchos Torah could be that he wanted the schus in the Seres Mechuvah to finish the entire Shnai Mikra. Then another thing that he felt that was the end of the year, that was maybe his deadline. So you can't do the Erev Yom Kippur, you're too busy eating that day. There's no time to do the entire Shnai Mikra for the whole year on Erev Yom Kippur. So he wanted to do it earlier, and a certain elder, which according to Tesis elsewhere, that's Eliyahu Navi, comes to him and says, Shnai Mikra has to be said on time. You're not makdim Shnai Mikra or Makra, you don't do it at other times, you do it in the right week. Fine? Okay? Good. Where does Shnai Mikra come from? So the truth is, the Gemara and the Darim, it's mashma that came in the times of Ezra, but the Aruch HaShulchan and his other sources say that Bavadei, when Moshe Rabbeinu made a takana, that we do Kriyas HaTorah, he was also Mesakin Shnai Mikra V'Echad Targum as a chiyuv in each individual. Now there are those that understand, like the Ravan, which I brought over at Halacha, he brings that really there's a chiyuv of Kriyas HaTorah. If you're going to miss the Kriyas HaTorah, you have a chiyuv to the Shnai Mikra. And since, even those who hear Kriyas HaTorah, it's very possible that if they're long Kriya, they didn't focus mamash every word, they might have spaced out for part of it. So therefore it's a mini yafa that we do Shnai Mikra regardless. However, the Ravan is not lahalacha. The Alter Rebbe writes clearly, as all other poskim, af al pisha adam shemea kol terakula, that you're still chayiv to Shnai Mikra. It may be connected to Kriyas HaTorah, it may be connected to Limud HaTorah, but it's a separate chiyuv from Kriyas HaTorah, even if it has a connection. Regardless, whether it's a takana of Ezra or a takana of Moshe Rabbeinu, we understand that it's a very important thing, and as din kedima even of other areas of Limud HaTorah. Fine. That's the takana of Shnai Mikra. Now, what's the best way to do Shnai Mikra? If you look in Marim 5, the Alter Rebbe brings a few different minhagim. He brings one minig to do it by Parsha. Parsha meaning basically subject matter, the way it is in the Chumash. The way it is in the Sefer Torah, that there's breaks between Parshias. He says one opinion to read the whole Parsha, then a second time, and then with the Targum. Brings another opinion and says this is the proper way to do it, because this resembles the original Kriyas HaTorah, is to read every pasuk twice, and then read the Targum right afterwards, because it used to be, and there's still a few places where this is done nowadays, that they would read the pasuk, and they'd right away have someone say the Targum immediately after every single pasuk. Alter Rebbe says in Shulchan Aruch that's the proper way to do. And Takana Yom Yom for Lamed Sivan, it says that this is our meaning that we read Shnai Mikra pasuk. However, Ikar Din you're yotze any way that you do it. You're even yoitze if you read the whole parsha once and the whole parsha twice and then Targum afterwards. This is an interesting question. If you put Targum in the middle, if you do the whole Chumash, then Targum, then that, are you yoitze? You probably are. Most places can say that you are. There's one Maimach not, but come on, everyone says you're yoitze even that way. However, it's appropriate to do it pasuk in Targum. I didn't see a reliable makar for this, but I saw a makar for it that says that the Maggid said in the name of Eliyahu Navi. If anyone has a good makar for this, please tell me. That's later, that the Maggid said in the name of Eliyahu Navi, that you're not yotzei shnai mikra if you do it any other oifen besides pasuk Targum. But that's definitely not the ikar halacha, but it is the proper way to do shnai mikra. Now, just turning the page, what exactly is Targum? Is Targum mean Targum Onkelos? Could it mean something else? So the Alter Rebbe in Shulchan Aruch writes, "Akari shnai mikra," and afterwards he says to say it into a different language. You say it into English. You teach every word. You know the teich. You teach all the words into English. He says that you're not Yaitse. You're not Yaitse. Why? Because the Targum Onkelos actually explains many things with the way that he translates the words. It's not just a simple translation. It's based on Torah Shal Peh. It's given by Sinai. And then the Alter Rebbe writes, however, that's when they get to Targum Onkelos. What if you learn it with Rashi? Rashi also is explaining the taich of every of the pasuk and is explaining according to the Talmud. This is Yeshayimrim. That's actually even better than Targum Onkelos. So you'd be Yotze if you did Rashi. However, the Alter Rebbe points out, and Kunz Achron is Mafalfa why, it's like Navron is differently, that Alter Rebbe says that means you have to learn it 3 times in Mikra, and then 1 time Targum. 1 time Rashi, that is. Because since Rashi is not in every single word, so the words which Rashi does not, Shtelzech on, the words which he does not Mefarish, you would have to say those words again in Lashon Kodesh, such as the words that don't have Targum, that we say again. In Aruch Mashim, everything's printed in Targum, but that's because those, just Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, that's just printed again, really the pasuk. So you have to say the Mikra 3 times, or Rashi wants you to be Yaitse. Then the Alter Rebbe says, but there are those who say that Targum is actually better than Rashi, because Targum was given at Sinai, meaning it was given and then forgotten. The Targum Onkelos rediscovered it at Har Sinai, and he finishes off that the Iker is Kesar Rishayna, which, when you look at the Shulchan Aruch, just the way it's printed, you would definitely think that Sar Rishayna means to do with Rashi. However, Yirei Shemayim should do both Rashi and Targum. And that's Taka Lapoyos, we're going to see soon from various Mechiris, that's Taka Arminik, is that we do the Shnai Mikra on Friday, Pasuk and Targum, and the Chitas that we do during the week is Mashlem, the 3rd time Mikra with Rashi, so we end up getting all of the opinions, the way that we do it, but we're going to see a little bit more about that soon. Now, in Sefer Sichos and Tashon Beis, which part of this is printed in Hayom Yom for Dalat Tevis, so the Frierdiker Rebbe is discussing that there are certain things which Chassidim do and certain things which the Rebbeim do. He discusses the differences. This is what a Chassidim would do, and the Rebbeim would do slightly different, and it's not necessarily here or the Rabbim. He says that by Chassidim, it's Mekubal that we learn every single day a Parsha Chumash with Rashi, and this is also something that the Rebbeim would do. And then, later in the Sicha, the Frierdiker Rebbe says that the way the Rebbeim would do Shnai Mikra, that's earlier in the Sicha, we'll get to that later in different Mari Malkim, says that the Rebbeim said that Shnai Mikra Targum is the halacha, and Rashi is the Inyan Yavir Shemayim. Meaning that the Frierdiker Rebbe is clearly learning that the chitas that we do is par Shnai Mikra, and that he says that when it says in Shulchan Aruch, the Yir Shemayim does a Targum in Rashi, that means that Rashi brings the Yir Shemayim, which is a little bit different than the way we learned Shulchan Aruch before. Before we learned Shulchan Aruch, the Iker is Rashi. Well, Targum is Misad Yir Shemayim. That seems to be, if you should read the Alter Rebbe straight, that's what you would think. But the Frierdiker Rebbe says, no. Targum is the halacha, and Rashi is the Yir Shemayim. Rashi is the Yir Shemayim. Okay, so the Shari Tshuva